Hello, everybody, and welcome to another awesome episode of LinkedIn Live. This one is so special because this episode is what you wanted. We had a great poll, and with overwhelming majority, people want to talk about restoring to the cloud. So today, to join me in talking about this topic, I've got two of my awesome colleagues from the Office of the CTO, Rick and Kirsten. Rick, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good. And yeah, they picked cloud, and I'm sure you love
They
that.
did. I love cloud.
Doing great.
Kirsten, how are you?
I'm doing good today. It's Friday, so it's going to be a great day.
It's going to be a great day. So let's take a look at what we're going to talk about when it comes to restoring to the cloud, because there's really a lot of things that Veeam can do, as we're going to find out today.
Well, yeah, let's take a look at that poll. Let's look at the slide. Yeah.
Restoring to the cloud, 30%, right? I was a little shocked about that. I was hoping maybe like replication or storage snapshots will come through, but nope. It's all about cloud restore. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And Kirsten and Rick have some amazing demos. I mean, Kirsten, Rick, what did you think of this? Like, were you expecting restoring the cloud to win here?
Well, Kirsten, you go first. You go first, because I have a really cheeky answer.
Honestly, there's no such thing as too much cloud, as Rick would say. I don't know if you were going to say that, Rick, but I remember you telling me that maybe it was like 2019. So it doesn't surprise me at all. I think the cloud is important for every business to either, think about considering using, or if they're already using, learn more about. So I think it's a great topic.
Yeah, I do think I've said there's no such thing as too much cloud. I probably have said that 2019 times. Maybe also no such thing as too much security. It's another internal Rickism.
Speaking of no such thing as too much cloud, we want to know what you all think about this. So first and foremost, we want to know where you're from. So what I want you to do is drop in the comments where you're watching from today, and maybe even tell me your favorite thing about the cloud. Why not? I'm feeling cloud today. So we're going to come to this map a couple times during the course of this production and give you some great shout outs. We've already got Columbia on the map. Hey, Columbia, what's up? All right, let's get to some good stuff here.
Yeah, so one more thing on this, Melissa, before we go onward. I thought storage, the ReFS and XFS, I actually thought that would win because people want storage efficiencies, but you kind of see that with storage snapshot integration. So maybe it was a hard choice because honestly they're fairly balanced, right? So anyways, we'll see. I think it was pretty cool. But topic du jour, restore.
Yeah, so why would we want to restore to the cloud? Any number of reasons. There's no good single reason. There's so many use cases, but the trick is with Veeam, it's super easy to do, right? It's just like a regular restore. We're going to see some demos today, but Rick, what was kind of your experience the first time you restored your virtual machine from on-prem to the cloud?
Well, I'm going to set up the big observation was, okay, I restored to the cloud, and then what? Right? That was part of the story. And when we go through this demo here today, you'll see that loop is closed. And then the other thing is, sometimes you need conversions, whether it's to EC2 or, virtual machines to Azure, or like something that was a EC2 VM back to a Windows, or I'm sorry, a Hyper-V or VMware. There's conversion elements like UEFI versus BIOS, right? Those are the things people would stub their toe on.
And luckily, we're going to make that super easy when it comes to restoring with Veeam.
Indeed. So I think, well, Melissa, you said demos.
There's demos. There's so many demos.
Scared. We did that last week, right? We did Demopalooza, and guess what, friends? We're going to do that again.
Demopalooza Part Cloud. So first up, Kirsten, who's going to restore to AWS. Now, Kirsten, I know you and I have spent some quality AWS time together, and I'm really excited for this. So tell us what you think.
Yeah, so the ability to restore to AWS EC2 is available within all the editions of Veeam Backup and Replication, even Community Edition. So if you're using the Community Edition and you're looking for a way to maybe migrate machines from on-premises infrastructure to the cloud, create a test environment to test patches and updates. You can restore your virtual machine, your physical machine, into AWS. And I promise that this video is slower than last video, especially if you tuned in last week. So let's take a look at how easy it is to get started doing this. This is the Veeam Backup and Replication Console. I have a couple virtual machine backup jobs running already. And I'm going to select this backup here, and you can see that there's a variety of different ways to restore this backup. For this example, I'm going to restore to Amazon EC2. So I'm going to easily click on this and get started. I've already added my AWS account into my Veeam Backup and Replication server, but to do this, you need to provide your access key and your secret key. Next, you're going to choose your AWS region and also the data center that you're going to restore to. Next, we're going to, create a name for our restore virtual machine. So once we restore, do we want to keep the same name? Do we want to change it? We can also add a prefix or a suffix when the virtual machine is restored into AWS. You can also add tags. So, tagging your virtual machines can always come in handy just to make sure you're following any type of SLA policy. Maybe you need to make sure that you remember this machine is in a certain type of group. That's available to you as well when you restore. Next, you're going to choose the instance type that you're going to restore to. You're going to want to make sure that the system that you're sending there is going to be supported by AWS and the OS type as well. And there's a variety of different instance types available for you to choose from. And you can see that through this screen here as well. And then you're also going to be able to choose if you want to bring your own license or use a license provided by Amazon AWS. We're going to bring our own license for this today. You can also choose the disk size and what type of disk you want to restore. So there's a couple different options here, especially if your virtual machine is used to being run on an SSD. You can make sure that it's continued to run on that same type of disk when you restore. Next, you're going to choose your Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, subnet, security group, and you can make sure that if you don't want to assign it to an IP address, you don't have to, or you can go ahead and specify that setting within that window there. Next, you're going to choose if you want to use a proxy appliance or not. This is an optional choice for you, especially when you're restoring backups of virtual machines or physical machines stored in backup repositories. But it's also recommended because it's going to help improve restore performance. And along with using that proxy appliance, you're going to be able to choose what type of instance type that proxy appliance is going to be spin up as. So that's how easy it is to go through and start restoring to Amazon EC2. You can see it's a few clicks of the wizard, another Rickism from 7 years ago. Nothing's more complicated than 7 clicks of a wizard. So yeah, that's pretty awesome, don't you think?
That's cool. Sounds familiar.
It's just like, honestly, I'm not the most cloudy. We like to joke about this, but to me, it looks and feels like just like I was restoring a VM to like vSphere or Hyper-V. So from an operational perspective, it's not that hard to start making the jump into the cloud by restoring into the cloud like this. And before we go on to our next demo, which we're going to switch to Azure, how exciting is that? We're hitting a lot of different clouds today. I want to take a look at the map and see where our viewers are tuning in from. All right. So in the United States, we've got Indiana, Brooklyn, New York. We've got Rick and Kirsten in Ohio, of course, right? We've got our wonderful producer in Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, everybody in the U.S. Thanks for coming tonight. And Mexico. I see Mexico tuned in there. In Europe, we've got France and Germany. Welcome, welcome. And then if we head on over to Colombia, Brazil. Hello, how are you? Let's make this map nice and green. And we've also got Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, India, and Bangladesh tuned in. Thank you all for tuning in today. And keep those comments coming, and we'll do another map check a little later in the show, maybe after we look at another cloud. So let's take a look at Azure. Rick, what can you tell us about restoring a Veeam backup to Azure?
Yeah, sure. So I did see one question, at least from the LinkedIn feed, come from Sadiq about how much bandwidth does it take to transfer 4 terabytes for the first time. Now, Sadiq, that's more about DR. Chances are, if you're talking about traditional Veeam DR, that replication with WAN acceleration will do it faster than you think it will. And I think it always depends. So there's no established calculator. So the best way to find out is to try it. Okay, so I'm going to show you the similar thing that Kirsten did, but I'm going to do it with Microsoft Azure. So let's jump into it.
I wonder if it's going to look a lot different. I'm
really
it
interested might. In it's blue. It's not green. First of all,
blue.
Yeah.
I love blue.
What I'm looking at here is my inventory of backups in the console. So the backups we take sit in this backup hive of the UI. And let's take this one right here, this particular Hyper-V virtual machine. And you'll see those other options. I can go to Google as well, or to AWS like Kirsten just drove. But I'm going to go to Azure, and I'm going to select one of the restore points that I have. And I'm doing all my beautiful copies, including double play immutables. I've got the I'll pick one off the Exagrid, for example. And we are using the videos here. So as you see my hands like moving around, that just makes it go successful for us. I did it last night here, and I'm going to choose this Azure subscription. And I've been using Central US, but I can select all of the public available regions. Now, one other thing that's interesting is you could be notified of potentially a location violation. So if you have stuff that can't go here from there type of things, you can at least have that made visible to you. And I also recommend you use the Azure proxy. Now, the different proxies function differently. The EC2 restore will ephemerally make the data mover there. This one will use, I can even use the Veeam server to do it. But anyways, it's a manipulation technique to speed it up. And I'm going to pick the new size. And, my cloud bill, trying to be a good steward of that. So I'm going to go kind of small, and I'm going to select my storage account here that I've already got in play. And then also I can summarize that information. Pretty easy for the target virtual machine. Now I also can select the resource group. And I like to have my resource groups, and you can see I used to be bad about it, but I like my resource groups to be pretty clearly named. So that's Veeam Software Corporation, Rick Vanover, 0 account of dev. And so what I'm actually going to do is pre-name this restored system with that same name, because the whole nature of the cloud, friends, is tear up and set up and tear down. So I want to make sure that I know this is dev right from birth. So way better than I do on-prem, maybe. So anyways, then I'm prompted for similar options. Again, Azure specific in this situation. Where do I want this virtual machine to sit within Azure? So I can put it on this virtual network, which I already have as default for the central. But there's, you want to give some thought about public IP over the internet. And I think it's Melissa has a great story of public cloud, virtual machine, internet.
One.
So I made that one pink just for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the thought is, if you don't put something on the public internet when you do the restores, you have some interesting, additional security levels. Now, a lot of times people might want to restore to the cloud because they have to. That's secure restore, right? That's a great way to, if you maybe need to restore to the cloud to get out of a ransomware situation, that might be an interesting thing as well. All right. So we're going to launch this restore. Now, again, I did say that we did embed a video, but so one of the tricks, I'm going to disclose it. I was hitting the pause when I was capturing this. So we're going to use some magic of television. You'll see that as this hard drive is uploaded to Azure and then converted, you'll see that time start to do a little happy dance, aka fast forward through. So it does not move that quick. It would be nice. But one question I do get is, how long does it take? Well, the short answer is it's the size of your backup file, which has been compressed and deduped, and the efficiency of the components with the connectivity. Now, the magic is that still doesn't answer the question, but the magic is if you're using the capacity tier, you can actually drive these types of recoveries directly from the cloud. So if you think about that, That is actually very intriguing, right? Especially with copy mode. So the pressure's off when you're doing these types of recoveries. So this VM isn't huge, but it does finish through. It's about 35 gig, and it took 17 minutes. And trust me, our lab is far from best practices. So the reality is that it didn't take too long to do that. And then the last step, once that data is up there, is to have this conversion task. So in just quick time, it was about 30 minutes, a little bit, no, 20 minutes, bad math, 22 minutes and 8 seconds. I was able to throw this 35 gig virtual machine up into Azure. Okay. So then what? It's in Azure. What do I do next? And that leads me back to my second demo, right? Which is once you're up there, which when Melissa asked me, when this first came out, what's the deal with restoring to the cloud? Because it kind of didn't make sense if we stopped backing it up on VMware or Hyper-V, and now we're up there in the cloud and we can't back it up. And if it's a production application and you need to get files back, well, we can help you out there too. So I'm going to transparently go into demo number 3 here. So what I'm looking at is the Azure console. All right. So this is my Azure subscription with my generally well-named virtual machines in the mix. And then if I take a look here, I'm going to go ahead and do a refresh of the virtual machines in the mix. Where is it? Where's that refresh button? Right over, Rick, over. No, you'll see that I have 2 virtual machines, but then I'll refresh. There it is. You'll see that V1, V11 one has popped in there. So we have another virtual machine in the inventory. So once I have that one, which just came in, it's new, it's sitting alongside all the other ones, I probably want to go back it up. So that's where Veeam Backup for Microsoft Azure can help you out. So let's actually take a look here, and I've got other things being backed up, but I'm not backing up that new one. Now, if I did like Kirsten said and use a tag, or if I had this policy built on things like,
look at that login screen. Isn't that slick looking?
It is pretty.
I love
it. You get more time on it because I messed up my password twice. So
look at how beautiful it is.
It is pretty. I will say that is much better than it was before. It's kind of like a green dark mode, awesome situation. But anyways, I do these video cuts, fresh and raw, and so I apologize. I didn't know which password, but I got it right on the 3rd try. But anyways, what I can do here is then let's go look at the policies, which is the backup jobs. And anyone with a keen eye sees that we can have SQL backups now with Azure. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
If you didn't catch the David and Sam show, you'll know that Azure, now you know that Azure SQL can be backed up. But let's add a policy here, and we'll call this the live stream. So a policy is loosely equivalent to a job, just a more modern name for it. I'm going to select the region I'm using, Central US. And let's go ahead and apply that. And then let's also find, I got to probably select that Azure AD account using the interlabbing account, which is my Azure subscription. And then what am I going to protect? This is actually really cool. Small but mighty part of the user interface here. That's another Rickism, Kirsten. But the thought here is that inside of this policy, I can make the policy work on the whole subscription, the whole resource group, tags, or individual VMs. But let's add that V1, V11 one that we just restored. So it's added to the policy. This is basically an explicit policy, but between the tags, the subscriptions, an explicit list, you can build it a little bit better. All right, so we have that made here, and let me put it back in there. All right, just so you can see. Well, you actually got to click it, Rick. There we go. Okay, so it's in there. And then as we go, we can also do some of the handling like application-aware processing, running some scripts to get consistency, that type of thing. And then here's where it gets pretty interesting when it comes to the actual retention options if you wanted to do, and the difference between a snapshot and a backup. And, I saw this person on TikTok. They went on and on about the snapshot not being a backup. It's something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, some smart lady I know was going on about that. But the default schedule lets you set when your snapshots are and when your backups are. And it's important to know that you also have to select a repository for the backups. So you could just do snapshots, but I got to have a backup too. So I forgot that here. Luckily, it caught it for me. But in there, I have a backup repository that is set up to receive these backups. So that one right there, dev VM0R. So that is where the object storage goes. Okay, so that's very different than the snapshot, which is part of the Azure disk. And that configuration will approximate this cost per month for me. And you can see right away, those snapshots cost a shed load more than the backups. And that's okay. That's by design, but at least we give you the flexibility. So I think it's time to go ahead and run a backup. So you see this new policy in here.
Wow.
Let's do a backup of Veeam backup in Veeam backup of Azure of that system that we just restored. And again, I'm going to do the same type of thing through the magic of television. I'm going to let this job get started here, and then I'm going to speed up the video just so you don't have to watch backups run. But sometimes that's fun. I like to do that sometimes. So just like that, what I've done is kind of close the loop. I've taken something on-prem, I've set it up to the cloud, and now I've let this backup finish, and I have a snapshot. So actually, I already have the 3-2-1 rule done. 2 different media, the object and the disk itself, 3 copies. Sounds pretty cool. But guess what? There's more. There is more. And I'm going to throw it back to Kirsten to kind of tell me what is.
Well, before we do that, since we're going around the cloud, let's go back around the world and see who else has tuned in today to learn all about our amazing cloudiness. Of course, we have our friends in Ohio. We've got Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Welcome, welcome. If we head over to Europe, we've got Italy, Poland, and Denmark tuned in too. Oh, and I don't know if you saw it off the coast of Florida, but our friends from Cuba are also here today. Welcome, welcome. We've also got more viewers from Dubai, Algeria, and Pakistan. So we have really gotten quite around the world today. And Kirsten, can you take us more around the cloud?
Yes, definitely. So like Rick mentioned, there is more to the story. We showed you how you can restore a backup to the cloud, how you can back up the cloud when it's there. And now let's talk about, maybe you want to do data migration between the cloud, or maybe you want to restore back to on-premises.
That's a good one. Maybe get it out of the cloud, bring it back.
Yeah, there's so many different options, and you can all do this within the Veeam platform itself. That's one of the great things about Veeam is we like to make sure that you can do it within our platform, and it can be applied to any situation. So let's talk about a little bit about the external repository functionality within.
All right, I gotta admit, this is one of my favorites. I'm excited now.
Yeah. So Rick showed you already that he backed up and stored his virtual machine running in the cloud into object storage. And we're in the Veeam Backup and Replication console again, and we're going to go into the backup infrastructure here. And we're going to see all the different types of repositories that we have added into our infrastructure. But you can see there's one repository, the external repository, and this is really what we're going to talk about today. If you remember in Rick's demo, he showed you that he was backing up his workload in the cloud to this specific repository here within Veeam Backup and Replication. So we're going to rescan this machine because this is basically going to find any of the new policies or any of the backups that we have recently backed up and stored in that repository. And you can see that we have added, a backup there. We have a machine that's being backed up and stored into that repository. So now what can we do with this machine? Now we can restore it in a couple different ways, and we're going to show you that here as well. You can see our repository and our live stream policy that were created for us, and then you can see all the different types of restore options available to you. And that machine is actually being stored in the cloud already, and now we can see that we can restore to Amazon EC2 if we wanted to, or maybe we're looking to restore to Google Cloud Platform. I don't know if I said that one right. Yeah. We could do an instant recovery. So really giving you a variety of different options that you can utilize when it comes to recovering cloud workloads. Don't you agree? Any other?
I love it. Guys? I love it. I did set Kirsten up for this kind of as a trap because, all the way back around is pretty cool. But like, even if I just needed a file right here on this window, I could crack open that backup up in Azure and get the file I need. I could throw it back to a Hyper-V virtual machine. So it's up and down and back again. I think it's pretty cool. I like this kind of stuff.
Around the cloud with Veeam. Sure, why not? That sounds good. I mean, restoring data to the cloud. I mean, it's so easy. Everything looks and feels the same. Like if you're, a traditional VMware person like me, sorry, that's what I am. You get what you see here. It looks and feels the same, right? It's not that hard for someone who doesn't have a lot of cloud experience to go and get started. And even when you log into the cloud native products like Veeam backup for Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud Platform, they're super easy to use as well. So that kind of whole platform comes to life. I mean, what do you think, Rick and Kirsten, about this whole cloud thing?
Well, it's, I'll say it's different, right? And if you have used Veeam Backup for AWS, Veeam Backup for Azure, that wizard is pretty straightforward. But when we start protecting more data sources, it gets a little bit more involved. But I still think that web UI is pretty straightforward. I'll be honest with you. I didn't prepare much for that version 3 of Veeam Backup for AWS. And, it told me things I needed to do, like when it said, hey, you need to configure the repository. Okay, go configure the repository. Ease of use for the Veeam products, wherever they are, cloud, on-prem, or beyond. I think that's really important. And like Kirsten, when you were driving the AWS demo, you captured that one. It's pretty self-explanatory what needs to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I just love how we have like the full story. We can send backups to the cloud, we can store backups there, we can restore to the cloud, we can back up in the cloud. I just really love how there's so much we can do when it comes to the cloud.
And Kirsten here, if you don't know already, she is like the queen of Community Edition. Like, she is the master. And Kirsten, we can do this with free and Community Edition too, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's been available in Community Edition for a while now. I couldn't say the definite year or date when it became available, but Community Edition is really cool because, make sure that you always have access to your Veeam backups files forever. So if you need access to your Veeam backup files, Community Edition is always there and it has your back.
Absolutely.
I think also, correct me if I'm wrong, Kirsten, but we could even simplify it and take, say, Veeam Agent for Windows, like a backup of this laptop. If I wanted to archive it in the cloud, just in case I needed it, I could throw it up as an Azure VM, right? Even those types of use cases for your home systems and stuff. Likewise, you could take your, a laptop, and you could take that image-based backup and restore it as a virtual machine, right? I have a whole museum of all my computers from years and years ago at home. That's the stuff. This portability is real. I think it's pretty cool to highlight.
Absolutely. So what else do we have going on our wonderful Veeam social media channels? On Monday, you can tune in to see Jason and David. They haven't been together in a little while, and they're going to talk about data sprawl impacts and how that kind of can mess with your data protection, but I bet they have a solution for that. And then Friday, if you come back here, we have a very special event next week. We have our Veeam On update coming on. So if you want to register for that, you can head right over to veeam.com and register. But if you miss it for any reason, we're going to have a recap back here on Friday. So I just wanted to say thank you all so much for joining us today on whatever platform you're coming from, and we hope you have a wonderful weekend.